top of every mountain is the bottom of another. The top of every mountain is the bottom of another. Run for cover, you discover some will thrive and others suffer. Cause the top of every mountain is the bottom of another. Ooh, don't wait, don't hesitate. Better speak the truth, let it resonate and let it detonate and get blown away. Till you keep on rising to a higher place. Can't stop, won't stop, don't stop coming till we hit the top. Gotta keep pushing till the day I make it. Since they won't give it to me, then I got to take it. The pain today is power tomorrow. Keep on coming, but you'll never catch me running. Cause I won't bow down. No matter what they say, I wouldn't do it any other way. Keep on coming, but you'll never catch me running. Cause I won't bow down. Top of every mountain is the bottom of another. The top of every mountain is the bottom of another. Not enough, they keep us smothered. Lower class, never the upper. Cause the top of every mountain is the bottom of it.
Good evening, UN Spacey Wolf Squadron. This is your Wolf Commander Wolf 10. We have brought it back, everybody. The Real Millennials is finally back after a weeks-long vacation to re-energize the batteries. And we're starting with a brand new We're starting with a brand new attitude. Yes, that's right. Kickstarting the season 3 aspect of this stream series, I have retooled the intro.
Yay!
So how would y'all rate that one?
Nice.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Although it did come out pretty muffled on my end.
Oh wow. Well, let's just hope it doesn't affect.
Well, muffled and low.
Entirely. Huh?
Muffled and low.
It's probably because of the way I manipulate the volume. Maybe your computer didn't react well to it. I could tweak up the images a bit. I'll probably do that. Probably down the road. Kind of getting a little more into video editing myself. So how is everybody so far? Starting with the lovely Leia Plus Size.
Good evening, everyone out there. This is Leia Plus Size, your lovely Lady of Valor. And welcome to our conversation. And our topic is going to be about communicating, which I think is very timely. There's been some incidents in our media and in society about how we communicate to each other. It has become a lost art. Other than that, I'm doing great, and I hope you all are doing well too, and you had a nice, peaceful holiday.
We have the humblest of ours, Humble Marty.
Hello, I'm Humble Marty, and I write things. I hope everyone has had a great holiday season, and welcome to Season 3 of The Real Millennials.
We have the Hound of the South, Dominic Powell.
He's muted. Can he hear us?
Dum 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 dum
Oh,
dum
good Lord.
dum 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 and dum 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 dum.
Tom, please answer.
Dum 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 dum. Dum 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 dum.
Oh no.
Dum dum. Dum dum.
There?
Oh wait, wrong Dominic.
Communication issues.
For
communication issues.
He's having some technical issues.
Yes, I can hear that.
Oh.
Oh my goodness, dude! When are you? I'm not gonna say. We'll see. We'll see how this goes. I'll speak for him. So he's doing fine. I hope. He's been a busy man, everybody. He can't be everywhere all at once, though. Can you talk now? You're unmuted. Oh, he's messaging us in the private chat. Oh,
Mhm.
that's you, Humble. And he cloned himself. Not a good way to start off our return, is it?
Par for the course.
At this
Maybe he'll
point,
come in
yeah.
along the
All
way.
right.
There he is.
All right.
You want to try it
Technical
again?
issues aside, yes, let's do a restart.
The Hound of the South, Donic Pal.
Good morning, evening, or afternoon, everyone. This is the Hound of the South, Dominic Powell, and welcome to our first episode of Season 3 of the Real Millennials. And yeah, to answer your question previously, Wolf, I had a pretty good Christmas vacation.
That's awesome. So, this is Joe's show mostly. What forms of communication are we really talking about?
Well, verbal communication, electronics, and even text.
Text.
Yes, basically, really, we're covering communication like in all its forms. However, what is becoming a lost art is really actively listening to each other whenever we have a conversation, as well as keeping people, like
Did we lose him again?
dang it,
No, we heard you that time.
dang, dang, StreamYard, and
Oh boy.
Yeah, that's part of the communication station.
Well, I guess he'll be. I'm sure he'll be back with us when he gets
The
the
forms
technical
of
difficulties
communication that he's
solved.
talking about. He said electronic, verbal, and what was the other thing? Texting
Mm-hmm.
and active listening. Yes, we are seeing a complete lack of active listening from both sides. Mainly one side, but both sides haven't been actively listening to each other, especially when it comes down to people when giving any advice, whether or not they're delivering the advice effectively, or the person, or as I would like, or a better way of saying it, the recipient is receiving the advice or not, due to a lack of listening or in most cases paying attention.
Mm.
yeah, and well, one of the major contributors to that is the rise of social media, which which like professor and author like Jonathan Haidt mentioned in his latest book, The Anxious Generation. Social social media, while it did bring a lot of people together, it's a double-edged sword because it effectively replaced with like play-based communication and interactions to electronic based communication, especially only when it comes to phones.
Correct.
It was kind of the precursor to the texting with phones at the table.
Back in the day, when I was a kid, myself, some acquaintances, friends from school, and even neighborhood friends. Whereas like we just like talk to each other like face to face, whether it's verbally or even through the old school like phones like through strings and two cups.
Hmm.
Yeah, nowadays, well, okay, now to be fair, we still see kids like playing with each other as well as talking to each other the old fashioned way. However, it's really however now however more often than not, you just see them, and even teens and young adults, they'll just you barely interact with each other. They remain glued to their screens.
Yes, that seems
Uh,
to be one of the main flaws. Is many um, young adults or teens or people are we're not communicating face to face enough. We're not socializing together enough. We're not getting together and speaking to each other face to face as it was in the past. Whether if you think back, when I think back to my days in school, whether you're talking on a playground or you're talking on the phone or you're hanging out at the mall or even in a movie theater, we all know the dreaded, will you please put the text down so we can watch the movie? We're getting more of that. That's one reason people say they stay away from movie theaters is because people are texting on their phones and talking on their phones while the movie is going. So some some courtesy manners are sort of fading in a way because of the technology.
It fades, but then it comes up as a new type of monster, and it ends up becoming a different verbiage. Like, I think with the Gen Zers, the word demure had become popular again, and before that it was the word sus.
Just guys, please say suspicious or any other word fully. Okay, you're shortening the wrong.
Well,
Oh,
don't let that distract you from what's really going on. I mean, first we've already have them already doing the abbreviation speak, but now they're literally speaking in Texas. You know,
Yeah,
the texting has become their language now, like Giat and all that stuff.
yes, because I said even now when I look at like current romantic comedies or current films, I keep saying, who talks like that? They don't even
Oh
know how
God,
to they don't
it
even know how to write good dialogue anymore with with
or
some of
any
these
dialogue for
characters.
that matter.
uh
Yeah.
that
Like
depends. That
good or
that
bad dialogue what will require them to actually write dialogue. Period. They're not even writing dialogue anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They're basically writing what they would say on a phone or any kind of communication device.
It's not even excuse me. It's not even amateurish. It, it comes up more as like little kid, little kid, aka child speak. Like even little
Dude, are
kids
you
like when
eating?
even little kids wouldn't talk like that.
um yeah, we have like I was babysitting a 2-year-old, and he already knows the are you going to be nice? So he shoved his dad out the door and shut the door like, bye dad. He's the kid that is bossy.
Yeah.
We had the 4-year-old. She's like, I'm gonna watch TV, and she took off her shoes in a thrift store, crawled into this little. We had this little circular display for coats. Crawled into the circular display of coats and was watching YouTube shorts, which those things are about as addictive as TikTok. Only problem is uh, less. You actually have more thinking on that part of that side, and you don't have the TikTok that was like books and manga, and what they were fighting over was whether a display of abs could be on a book cover.
Oh
Yeah, that
gee,
sounds about right.
what an intelligent oh God. Some conversation there.
Oh, the fun part is when they don't need it, they will drop it. It's something that is within the human condition. If you end up telling them, I don't know what you're saying, your words are way too short, they will end up dropping it, kind of like a guy faking a New Jersey accent. Or like that one fictional character that tried speaking French or whatever the women found sexy, and then he drops the accent and he turns out to have like this Midwest American accent that has none of the flourish. And he's like, "Look, I'm just doing this to impress somebody else."
Well, kind of what I was saying,
Well
because
then,
even
Oh,
if
yeah.
you're doing a movie about college students falling in love, or a romantic film about your first love in high school, you still need good dialogue. And these movies right now, with their current script and speaking, are not good dialogue. It kind of goes back to what you're saying, Humble. It's like they're writing like they're first graders just learning their alphabet. And,
And
Uh,
we all know at this point that in schools they don't really teach English that much anymore, or a lack of English.
I mean, it's just
There's
reminiscent of high schools and higher education, like no longer teaching kids like Shakespeare and other classical literature.
there's been
every
reports of kids that are not even past any great level of English, for that matter. You got kids that can't even read past third grade, for that matter as well, which is disturbing to say
yeah,
the least.
it
most
is.
adult books are like a high school 12th grade level.
And even they don't read those, or
There's
rather, they're not taught those either.
I think the one thing that I always remembered about most of the school curriculum stuff is it's always biased. I mean, if you were trying to make that thing go the extra conservative bent, one part would be censored out because they're trying to please an audience. And then if you go like left wing bent, which is, get this, they do not want to show certain comic books in some schools, which I could kind of see why some of them have dicey subjects. But then there was a parent in a parent teachers meeting that swore by a book that showed positions of the sex scenes, and it's like, no, 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 no. You need to walk before you run. You need to crawl before you walk, especially since the first sex ed is usually the traumatizing one where you show where babies come from and all that other nice messy stuff that is like the stuff that kids make jokes of later in life.
Hmm.
We're
And
getting a little we're getting a little
adding on to that,
off the trail there, but I get
Uh,
what you're saying, Homo.
but it is still tied to. Excuse me. It is still tied to like tonight's topic of communication. Like, adding on to that, you also have people like actively like censoring or even revising like language to suit their own needs instead of teaching them as they are.
oh yeah. Like that one time I remember, and this was off of Twitter, mind you, when they decided to have the word they be a singular pronoun, where like
Instead of the plural
instead of
as it was
plural.
made as it has been for centuries.
Ruining
And
other languages in the process as well.
and it ends up going back to when, like, let's see, Diogenes, Plato. I probably said this one before, but I'll just say it again anyway so anyone hears this. My favorite Diogenes story, Plato says man is a featherless biped. Diogenes brought in a live naked chicken, holds it up above his head and says, "Below, behold, man." And then Plato sneaks into his notes, without wings or something sort to the effect.
Pretty much.
much. Well, we've just named, and like Wolf said, it's very disturbing that how the surveys of what's going on in the schools is sad, and it's starting to show up in scripts. It's starting to show up in stories. It's starting to show up in screenplays. Like I said, it just seems like, I guess they're targeted for a certain audience. The dialogue is so terrible. And I go again, I watch, I go, who talks like that? Nobody talks like that. And it's starting to show in what we're seeing. And I think that is terrible.
And
And I
The
think
here
that's
I'm
that's
I'm sitting
scary.
here waiting forever for the time when we can finally say Nova, Chum, output, or even oh, what do they say in Cyberpunk?
Corpo?
Corpo, yeah. I'm I'm
Or
I'm like, when are we gonna have? When are we gonna get to the point where we can finally, where we're finally saying the cyberpunk slang
or
at this
even
point?
or even like Interlac from DC's Legion of Superheroes, or the future shown in the DC animated universe.
Or even Mega City One, Drock,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe even Battlestar Galactica, Frack.
Well, on a lighter note, we've had a dinosaur named after Thanatos and I think some type of fungus named after SpongeBob SquarePants.
That I do recall reading.
Yes, and the Academy was like, no, 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 you should not name it after a cartoon character for whatever academic reason. And the guy was like, screw you, this is now SpongeBob SquarePants.
Oh
Hello,
God.
SpongeBob SquarePants.
Oh my God. Oh my! I cannot believe it. He wanted to call it. See, that's a. Are we de-evolving?
No, we're not. We're just
Yeah, but the guy was right. Why would you call it SpongeBob SquarePants? I
well,
mean,
it was actually named something a bit more scientific, and I'm not remembering the scientific name, so you're getting the butchered version. And I should know, I was one of the kids that that spoke in tons as a kid. I was the weirdo.
okay.
And right now, one of the heroes in modern day media was Laios because they called him the autistic icon, which I could kind of see why. He does a little hand flappy thingy when he thinks. And it's funny because you also have animators who act out the scenes. So you have some animator acting autistic and then putting it into a cartoon. And when they asked the author on Anime News Network if Laios was autistic, she's like, well, everyone has communication issues, which she was right, because one of the funniest love triangles in there is Shuro has a crush on Laios' sister Fallen. Laios liked Shuro a lot, and he said, "You are my new best friend." And he followed him around like a golden retriever. It's like, forget the date. You had the chaperone who loved you, and the girl who was oblivious.
In other words, spot of what a lot of people like thought about Lyles, especially like newcomers like who got into Delicious and Dungeons through the anime before reading the manga. I'm sorry, Lyles is not autistic. Okay, you can scream all you want, but that's the truth.
I prefer him over the canon autistic kid that they had in Hero Elementary, who has to.
Hero Elementary.
Yeah, it's a PBS kid show, Hero Elementary, where they did superhero training school. Okay, great. Like
Oh, wait,
My Hero
wait.
Academia.
Never mind. Yeah,
Yeah, and
I've heard that one.
the kid there, his superpower is projecting thoughts, but when he has one of his little quirks, he has to explain it.
Huh.
Or
I didn't
if
know
they
that.
had the kid that had, and this is like any other disability too, they end up having an adult try to explain it to a little kid. It's like that worked on Daniel Tiger. It did not work on Hero Elementary. It looked uncanny because it's like, okay, you have a human you have a cartoon trying to speak human and be human. And right now we have a freak who's into eating monsters that actually is more natural than whatever was on the educational TV.
Mm-hmm. And look, like even though like none of us here like have this particular like, mental illness, we know people like who have, but they just go about their everyday lives, and they don't let that disability like define them.
But it also does cater into the communication thing because some people, when they look at it, they try to stick it in a box. It's like, oh, you look like this guy. it's a little bit different if it was somebody like Apu from the Quickie Mart who was, yeah, he was an Indian guy, but he ran his own business, had a successful family life, and even covered himself in chocolate and told his wife he couldn't breathe because he decided to uh, do something extra special for her on a Valentine's Day or something.
I remember that episode.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now since you brought up Apu, like everybody like now realize like with hindsight, they they shouldn't have listened to that guy and the documentary The Problem with Apu because there was never any issues with that character at all. Like you mentioned, like he runs a successful business, a great family man, and he was able to achieve the American dream.
And he was funny to me. I always enjoyed his character. I didn't find
Plus,
any problem. He always made me laugh.
plus nobody cared his voice actor is not Indian.
Right. I didn't, nobody cared.
It's kind of sad though because one of the communication deficits I've had seen lately was when they decided to do cartoons, and unless it were anthropomorphic animals or some fantasy race, they decided that actor, the voice actor, should look like the cartoon,
In spite of the fact it has never been the case.
which I can say ProZD, a very good voice actor, was an advocate of that, and then he ended up losing jobs because of it.
That's stupid.
I often
Well,
wonder.
also it's a cruel irony when you really think about it.
Oh, it is a cruel irony. It's kind of a sad one too,
Too
because
often I wonder
yeah,
what
because
conflicts could have happened due to people miscommunication or not understanding each other. For
well,
example, in the movie Arrival, when the aliens came to our planet and started giving us this formula for what would, spoilers, be the universal language for the masses. They One of the nations misinterpreted it as weapon and was full on ready to go to war with the aliens. But also, said universal language was also how they perceived time. The more you study it, the more you begin to understand the language, the more you start experiencing moments in time from past, present, and also future.
oh,
In layman's terms, like the universal language in Arrival was essentially intergalactic Esperanto.
Hmm.
didn't they have that labeled at the top or something?
I believe so.
Yeah,
It's one of Bill
I
News's.
didn't know that. I may need to rewatch that.
It's one of Denis Villeneuve's interesting movies that he made.
No, I'd never seen the movie, but I find it would. But I always found it odd when it's if somebody wanted to share. So it's like when they had an alien decide, let's share alien thing, but then they don't have the title on top, or if they do, it's in the same language. So you have like a ton of experts trying to look at this thing with their eyes squinted and their head tilted sideways like it was a picture of two naked people coupling.
It just makes me, like I said, that movie made me just wonder how many things that have started or ended in such a way due to miscommunication or a lack of communication or even a lack of understanding of said communication and language. It's like
A lot.
what wars were started long
A
ago,
lot.
especially when letter writing. I I know it. I know humble.
I mean, she's not wrong.
She's not wrong. I'm just asking rhetorically. It's just sometimes
No, no,
I'm
we
just
got it.
often thinking about stuff like that. Like how did this start? Did this really start the way how people tell it, or did it start because people couldn't effectively communicate to one another, or it came as a sense of pride?
Um,
Like
most
like
of
say
it.
for instance, you know,
Christopher Columbus?
You know, another thing I like to say as well is sometimes the sizing up of communication, especially when it comes to neighboring rivals. Like, say, for instance, I believe it was either the Athenians that challenged the Spartans, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they gave them a sizable amount of threats, to say at least in one letter. And in slang terms, the Spartans returned with a letter saying "bet," but technically, technically what they really said was "if." It was because the reason why they said "if" was because the Athenians started their message with "if."
Oh gosh, that's like that one it's like that one argument that Ed had with Double D and Ed, Ed and Eddie, and all Ed's is saying "sticky hat," and Double D is just trying to tear into him with bigger and bigger insults.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing one communication I do like is when one of our famous leaders, even when they're on our soil or on another country's soil, you know, the one leaders that I come to respect a lot the most, especially those that you can sum up their speech with "bet." And y'all probably know who I'm probably talking about, or two people who I'm probably talking about, specifically Winston Churchill during the eve of World War II, at the beginning of it, the dawn of it, and throughout all throughout the great trades that Britain has experienced, with Germany and the like, it really takes a huge amount of balls to go through all that and be the prime minister of your countrymen. And your countrymen are beaten down. you know they're wounded, they're weary, they're tired, they're almost they're pretty much close to demoralized, right?
Mm-hmm.
They and at this point they even they don't know if they're going to survive another attack, or even or if they will even survive an invasion from Germany itself, right?
And also other members of the Axis powers.
Exactly. And and what does Churchill do? He goes on the mic and said, "Bet." It was a grandiose, long-winded speech, but like I said, once you get to the end of it, once you come to understand it, you basically gotta say. So basically, what Churchill just said throughout all the shit that Britain has went through, he basically told the Axis powers, "Bet." It's like bet, I bet you we'll come back at you tenfold. So like I said, say what you will about Prime Minister Winston Churchill. Okay, say what you will, but you know what? The man gets my respect to the day I die. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, we all know the guy's not perfect. However, he's not only an effective communicator, but he was an effective leader that helped lead Britain like during their darkest hours.
I mean, the man roused a nation to fight
Mm-hmm.
with bet.
Now,
Like I
what's
said,
really
that to me that's like the most that's the greatest thing a man could do. Same thing with Patton in later years. Mother,
mm-hmm.
that was his nickname. Bet.
Patton, Eisenhower,
Eisenhower.
and Kennedy.
Which Roosevelt?
Well, there's Teddy and Franklin.
What was it? Teddy, the one that said bet too
Yeah. Wait,
after
no,
Pearl
Teddy.
Harbor.
no. Wait, Teddy.
Pearl
Wait,
Harbor was
no.
Franklin
Pearl Harbor was
Delano
Franklin.
Roosevelt.
Yes.
Teddy was the guy who got shot 10 times as he finished a speech.
Yes.
Did
So
he get back up?
Yes.
yes.
All right, that's the one I'm talking about. Either one said bet. You shot me 10 times. Bet.
Well, what is really aggravating is how some people, especially only today's quote unquote historians, they're just trying trying to paint Churchill and other leaders of the past like in a very negative light because of their flaws.
They just
Uh,
mad because they weren't the because give it a chance. If it fell upon them, they would surrender easily. These are it's
They're the
always the
losers, the
non-combative
cowards.
ones. Yeah, it's always the cowardly non-combative ones that's gonna criticize the ones that actually did something, and always try to find reasons why their approach or as they like to call it, their choice in violence or inciting violence was the wrong course of action. You know, and I have to say, like, sure, you could try to communicate or try to talk to these people and come up with some kind of compromise. But given them, if there was a compromise option, I think they would hand everything off to the would be conquerors because given the fact that as we like to call them these days, the losers that also speak with the language of cowards. These are the types that will readily hand over their lunch money to foreign bullies. Will readily hand over our rights, even though
like,
even though even though they always crowing about rights, right? Human rights,
Hmm.
legal rights, and all that stuff. These will be the first people that will hand over our rights to would be conquerors if they
oh
were if they were
boy.
given a leadership position. That is.
That's like that's like that one Robert E. Howard thing when they did Conan. Civilized men are more discourteous than savages because they know they can be impolite without their skulls split as a general thing.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
The only caveat I can have to that is you do still have consequences for bad communication, and yeah, what Wolf? Yeah, you do end up having consequences for bad communication. If you say something wrong, they leave you get left alone. And if you, like, for example, they had one guy, I guess he ended up going down 369 days down, asking about the rape gains in Britain, and he was going to be a prime minister, and they were more worried about what some guy said on somebody's birthday cake. And watching one of those parliament meetings was fun to watch, but since I wasn't really politically fluent, I was just having fun watching a guy get mad over an outfit being compared to a post box. And granted, the offensive part is it was actually one of those Muslim outfits that has only this tiny window to see through for the women to wear. And it's like you pointed it out, and now I can't unsee it. And it's just odd. Oh, hijab. Yes, hijab. Yes, someone basically compared a hijab to a mailbox, and this was a politician, mind you, so they could get away with it. Not a comedian. The comedians usually get censored.
Hmm.
Yeah, and it was a podcast I'd watched a while back when they did a interview with a few of their comedians, and the one thing that they were afraid of losing their job was because they couldn't say certain things with certain audiences. It's like you had to be diverse, which means everyone gets made fun of. You had to be equitable, which meant you had to be exclusive to who you can insult. And then you had to be inclusive, which means screw you to all of the above.
Yeah, that's one of many reasons why comedians in the store like poke fun at nonsense like that.
Yeah, an entire, like, for example, this one TV show is called The New Norm. It is terrible TV show, but it found its audience because There's an entire business side of comedy that is just to make fun of the left, and the left has something to make fun of the right, and they are both two separate planets.
Hmm.
Sadly, the one on the right actually had some better, interesting characterizations, like the guy that was supposed to re-educate, and he's getting culture shock by being scared by a big black conservative guy who's into sports. And the other guy is the exact opposite. Best version of that type of trope was in Police Academy, where you had the rocker with the office worker, and they're paired in as roommates.
Right.
I remember those guys.
Yes.
I was thinking when Wolf asked the question about how many wars could have been averted if the sides had communicated better, or how many miscommunications or no communications could have been averted. And that's even in not only wars, but I think in our everyday lives and how we speak to one another, how things could be misinterpreted. Or if something is misinterpreted, are we willing to sit down and simply talk to each other about what's going wrong? For instance, I'll give an example. I know I've used it 1,000 times, but it is personal to me. We've known in the past couple of years, there's been a lot of attention to um, body image and obesity and how to handle the obesity epidemic. You have one side that is thinking that if you see maybe a plus size woman who is attractive and doing her thing, that if we tell her that, then you are promoting obesity as being normal. And then you have the other side that is saying that that well, that's just the way I am. Some people are just large, and you've got to accept. No, let me put it like this: that you have to accept all different types of beauty. So for several years now, both of these sides have been battling one another, and I've always said the problem is we're not listening to each other, because I think both sides do have a point. Yes, being too heavy is can cause bad health problems. I know this by my own personal life experience, and also improving my health, which I did last year. So I hope to stay on the right track because I'm happy that I've made changes. But also, we have to accept the fact that that is not the green light to disrespect, make fun of, or what's the other word? Discriminate against someone whose size is different from what we deem as the norm. So that doesn't make things any better either. And also the fact that there are ways if you to communicate this without insulting anyone. In other words, what I'm trying to say briefly is that yes, beauty comes in all different shapes and sizes. That is a fact, whether you accept that or not. Now, you have the right and the freedom to like a certain shape or size. If you do, that's you, and that's not a crime. The crime is no human being should be dehumanized because of their size, whether they're obese or whether they are maybe very thin. So the communication in this would be easier if we all just sat down and talked to one another instead of sitting there yelling insults at each other. There are many YouTube channels, and I subscribe for them, where there's a person who claims to want to help people. Well, I'll give you another example. We just last year lost Richard Simmons, and I really do believe Richard Simmons really, really wanted to help people live healthier lives. I really think he did, because he treated heavy people with dignity, even while he was trying to help them, because he was an overweight kid himself, and he remembers the bullying and the name calling. So he remembers all those things. So I think the reason he was so successful was because he treated large people with dignity. The people now that call themselves wanting to help obese people, I'm sorry, do not come across that way. They come across more like they hate obese people, or maybe they themselves were once obese, but instead of learning to deal with it, they became the bullies that bullied them. So, in other words, there is a way you can help and draw the issue, but you don't have to rob a person of their dignity. Again, that's another communication that you want to bring out with. So, if you have a loved one or a family member or someone you really are concerned about their health, There is a way of doing it without taking their dignity away from them. And that was one of the problems I had many, many years, because the people that I did work with would just tear my dignity down so badly that you think that you're nothing. Your self esteem is think that you were nothing. And that never ever should be said. But finally, I worked with doctors, and I have doctors now that treat me with a lot of dignity and respect while I go through this weight loss journey. But I don't see that now. Maybe you haven't seen it on YouTube, or there's some YouTubers here whose channels I left because I just got tired of the dignity robbing they were showing when they call themselves trying to help obese people, telling obese person you're nothing, or no one's going to marry you because you're this, or you're not going to get love, you don't deserve this job, you don't
I
deserve this
was
happen.
told long ago, never to walk in anyone's shadow. If I fail, if I succeed, no matter what they take from me, they can't take away my dignity. Because of the greatest
Well,
love of
well, what it
all
all comes
is
down to, with
happening to
Wolf,
me.
Wolf, you try.
what it all comes down to, and Leo's point is, well,
Sorry,
some of today's
we needed we needed to up the tempo. That was a cause for a celebratory hit greatest hit song.
Well, I was trying to up the tempo. I was going to say, what is Wolf trying to say? No, I was just.
You kind of were on that spiral. You were kind of on the let's talk dignity spiral, and you got to talking about the YouTubers that weren't being nice.
No. I was
Okay.
that it just calls for. It was just calling. I was like this calls for like the inspirational song to play in the background.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. I didn't mean to bring it
get
down.
things back on track here.
That's okay.
I was going to say, hold on, Dom, let you get in. I was simply going to say, be positive people will give you positivity. That's all I was going to bring out. And I'm seeing that now. And because of positive people, I'm getting good results.
Now, I will. Well, I don't go to your point, but this is a caveat. Don't don't surround yourself with toxic positivity, especially especially the toxic positive people who are pretty much like the caricatures of I the philosophy that is idealism, that they willingly blind themselves to objective reality.
Oh, that actually happened with the video game Concord. I mean, one of the game mechanics was literally cancel, bully, and shout insults. And the only interesting one in that storyline was the old punching bag dude. I'm like, oh my gosh, what happened to you? And then a bunch of people, of course, the internet, everyone's going to dig through your graves to find your skeletal closets. It was toxic positivity, which was basically put a smile on your face, say yes all the time. And if you ever told someone something was wrong, they'd cry foul. It would have been like Willy Wonka when a kid basically got stuck through the pipes and he's sitting there just watching kids get into bodily harm. Parents are saying something is wrong, and guys like, not my monkeys, not my circus. And the one time he actually had a human moment with someone was a kid returned something that he gave them at the beginning of the journey. That was the original movie, not the new one. The new one was supposed to be family feel good, but it just shows a nice, good Johnny Depp movie. But that's just me. That's just me.
Oh, now look, well, the original Willy Wonka, it is still among the timeless classics, and even though it's not a faithful adaptation of the original book by Roald Dahl, well, like, it's still it has its place. Much like Tim Burns' Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which yeah, more faithful to the source material, yet it gave a Willy Wonka a backstory, which is yeah, but so far like in the discourse, well, he didn't really need a backstory.
Oh, Willy Wonka was like the Eisen of the Willy Wonka book, kind of like Eisen is the Willy Wonka of Bleach.
Yeah, but Willy Wonka is not an evil bastard like Eisen.
True,
Yeah,
true. He's actually nice, and
According to whom?
according to the Oompa Loompas who work for him.
No,
And those are the
I'm
scariest.
referencing. I'm
Oh,
referencing those who co-signed the theory that Willy Wonka is a mass murderer.
which
eh,
is bullcrap because it is built on a very weak foundation with very little to no evidence.
it was based on working conditions, and no, he's not a mass murderer. If he was, it would have been a completely different story.
Yeah, which is
Could have been a
which is
horror story,
actually
honestly.
that brings up like
And
one of the other issues of why communication is not to where it was like back then, like with Gen X and even like our generation, Gen Y, aka the millennials. The usage of presentisms is essentially judging like a work or a person with modern day sensibilities instead of judging them from the time period that they're in.
it's kind of odd because, like when Leia was talking about the YouTubers, it reminded me of like when we had a class thing way back when, and someone talked about the messages put in magazines. Like if you drew a letter Z or an X, whatever is in the center was supposed to be the message. And that didn't feel right. The one that felt a bit more right was when my art teacher said it took a group of experts to figure out how a Mountain Dew bottle was angled because it looked like a morning wood of the yogurt slinger.
Huh, I didn't know that.
that is a news to me.
Yes, there is. He worked for Disney for a while, so yeah, he knew some of his things. It's basically you take a team of experts and the committee all gets together and tries to decide what is going to be the new best thing that will attract more customers. Sometimes you get a hit, like when they did the movie the Wild Robot, and sometimes you get a huge miss, like when Jaguar did their newest car commercial and they didn't have the car in it.
Oh yeah, that thing.
It was, I
Oh,
will admit, they did do better color theory, but they went way too avant-garde.
oh, they went avant-garde, all right. But I won't
And
get into it. But
and
I see what
I
you're
don't
saying.
know how the makers of that commercial responded to it, but when they showed it on social media, I clicked on it. I was like, "Oh, I get it. It's a TikTok video." And then it had Jaguar, and I'm like, "This is a car commercial?" If they were advertising those clothes, then it would make sense, but they're advertising the car's colors, but they never showed the car and they never showed the logo.
Sounds like you're
Yeah.
speaking about the communication and language of sales pitches and of course oh, what's the word, advertisement.
It is advertising. It is another communication thing. It's like if you don't name what your subject is, people will fill in the blanks with whatever their experiences have taught them. So, for example, many of the it's like those modern art pieces.
If you call them art.
Yeah, some people will know what the long-winded explanation for why it had like two arms anatomically on the same side. Then you have the other person that would be like, I don't know what the heck that thing is, but I won't knit a sweater for it.
Well, the makers of that Jaguar commercial weren't talking about the car. I think they wanted to send some inclusivity
Yeah,
message or something.
they were talking to
Suck.
themselves. They
That's
were
why it
talking to
sucked.
themselves.
Yeah,
Uh,
pretty much. Pretty much.
nah, that wouldn't have been the good inclusivity message. The best inclusivity message is you have someone hot behind the wheel.
Yeah.
Pe- and this is something that was actually pointed out by the Tuttle Twins TV show. You don't go for what is different. You find the one thing everyone likes that they have in common. Do they like fashion? Yes. Do they like everyone being included? Yes. But do they really care about it? No. But if there's someone hot behind the wheel, yes, they would go for that. It's like the same thing that happened with when they decided to do either body type A or body type B, and they're like the same body type, or you have the gotcha game that had like every single this, that, and the other of different types of pinup models and mini skirts, and they were like, well, why would that be considered attractive? And the guy was like, okay, switch to a hot character and have them crawl through a trench. If you're in a third person shooter game, you're having to stare at that outfit for the remainder of the game. I believe I just hit an awkward silence there.
No, no,
No.
no. Everyone, no, you're good. You're good, my friend. We were just taking it all in. That's all.
Yeah.
Ah,
If I could go back right quick and let you continue. When I talked about the YouTubers, just me personally, I wasn't trying to bring anything down. I just was saying some that I signed on to because I thought they could help me. And I thought they fooled me into thinking they were about help, but they really weren't. So I had to unsubscribe from them. So that's what my situation was because I was really led to believe they were about helping me, and they weren't. So
yeah, I get what you
that's
mean.
all. Yeah, yeah,
There was
that's all
like
I'm saying.
one YouTuber. It's like I really like her arms. It's her great looking arms, and I subscribed to
Mhm.
her. She turned out to be one of the channels that would sum up TikTok dramas and YouTube dramas and all this other stuff. And I was like, I don't even watch these videos. So I clicked off. Good person, just not my type of content.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be about nutrition and helping yourself mentally, and I really thought I was going to get something out of it, and it turned to be the total opposite. It was
Mhm.
more like a tear down. I said, no, thanks, I don't want this. I have one now that is great. I get really good nutritional value from it, but in the
Oh, that's
past,
good.
I would thanks. Yeah, one gives me really good nutritional tips. It has been working like a charm. Everyone in my family is now noticing my weight loss, but that one I do like. This it's just that one, but a lot of others I had to let go of them because they were false advertising. I thought they were about helping me, but they weren't. And one of the things you learned about toxic, and Dom, you talk about this. If
Toxic
it is,
positivity.
yeah, toxic, or even yeah, toxic positivity or toxic negativity. If it is not giving you a positive need, you want to cut ties from it, and
Toxic
that could be
communication, period.
right.
Mhm.
And that could be a person, that could be certain people in your life, that could be certain family members, and what you take in from social media. So you
Hmm.
guys are right all the way when it comes to that.
Well, I'd briefly go back to the communication through like marketing and advertising. Yeah, it's it really took a hit as the years went by. Like like when like during like Gen Y, Gen Y, aka the millennial generation, when the internet like was still like growing like during its infancy, people still able to communicate with each other, like through either verbally or through like the own message boards. When it comes to advertising, it gets each of those old ads, as much like previous ads from the 80s, the 70s, the 60s, and so on, they get straight to the point and didn't really prolong on what their product is about.
Well, Heck, the newest commercials I've seen that looked really good had been car commercials.
Right.
And I know I shouldn't note this, but it was like after the 2024 election, it was like a reset button, and you ended up seeing normal commercials again.
Let's
Mm-hmm.
go back into
Not
let's get into the nature of communication, shall we? Especially when it comes down to it's my wife body language, the communication in visual, movement, touch, smell. You know, the idea. How do babies communicate to their parents without the ability of speech? Right,
Mm-hmm.
gesturing, body movements, crying as well. You know, or how does a mother communicate to her child, and the child is reciprocative of the excuse me, reciprocative of the mother's love, or the mother reciprocating the baby's needs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or the love language, for
Mm-hmm.
example. Let's not forget the love language in
Mm-hmm.
between man and woman. There's the flirting, the flirtation, the touching, the subtle touches, to be exact, like finger across the hand, or leg, or in a seductive way, look, you know, calf rubbing up the calf to the thigh, or a lady showing a man she's interested
Mm-hmm.
by way of constantly rubbing his cheek, or his shoulder, or his arm. You know, forms of communications that have been made across the times that we're still trying to unpackage and discover even more throughout the histories. Things that have escaped us for years now, to say the least. And like we said earlier in this stream, we're losing most of it. Some people don't want to interact with each other, which obviously means no communication whatsoever. Lack of communication is now celebrated. It's now normalized. Um, and
has
of the communication, it's falsities and hang on, humble. It's falsities and assumptions and projections and insecurities being put to words from both sides. Even you got on one side the ladies, speaking about all men being creeps and hustlers and soothsayers. And then on the other hand, you see, men talking about women in such a way of them being the language of gold diggers, femme fatales, and not even good femme fatales for that matter, you know. Because if they was, well, most of them are successful in it. But if all of them were, then we were already a doomed society to begin with, and we were already heading there completely, and we just didn't know, but we wouldn't even know, right? But
Right.
you have them speaking about women, being money chasers and bag chasers and baddies and stuff like that. And you got another subsection of dudes calling them whores and then, like,
Mm-hmm.
this there's just been this real rise of anti communicating, to say the least.
And
And then
besides, anti-social.
that too. But you also notice that they're demanding, both sides are demanding of each other to communicate effectively, but they are not making the first move. Both sides are not making the first move on that front. No, and nobody doesn't want to do that because they're already set into what they already think of each other at that point. There's absolutely nothing escaping that yet. Not yet. I'll tell you why it's not yet, because we still have hope. We still have the people that have been brought the right way,
Mm-hmm.
been raised the right way, and raised on the language of communication, raised on the language of social. socializing, excuse me. So, regardless of the thing is, we're too much entertaining the negative people too much, and we need to be more. We gotta try to give spotlight to the positive people, the true positive
Mm-hmm.
people, not the toxic positive
Mm-hmm.
people.
Hmm.
You know, I'll get into that in a bit because I believe we speak on it enough, but we don't really define what is toxic positivity. Not yet, at least. And I'm pretty sure, Humble, I think you got the idea of what the definition is. Same thing with you, Dominic, but hear me out. I'm on a roll here. You know, we've been again spotlighting the negative when we should be spotlighting the true positive. And what I mean by the true positive, the people that are actually in it and actually have you that you basically look at the fruit of what they bore into society. You know, if the fruit is good, then you're supposed to go to that good fruit. You got to go to that good tree, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So that's what I mean by true positivity. As in, what did it benefit that person? How did it benefit that person? Will it benefit you if you put in the time and the work in as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you guys give me an example of toxic positivity, if you don't mind me asking?
I was going to say we're gonna define it. Basically, just
Oh, okay.
anybody who is love bombing you to no end, and always happen to be that person that's going to continuously excuse your faults and your flaws or anything negatively that could affect you in the long run. The one that's going to continue to gas you up and feed in to what you're doing and not give you a strict barometer of what you're supposed to be doing. I'm talking about fake friends or people who want to pretend to be your friends, but ultimately is sabotaging you from within your circle or behind your back.
Uh,
Those types of people.
Oh,
toxic
yeah.
Let's not forget the Stepford Smilers.
Toxic positivity is the belief that people should maintain a positive mindset no matter how dire or difficult a situation is. Symptoms include experiencing guilt for being sad or angry, dismissing others' difficult feelings, hiding painful emotions, reciting positive quotes about hard situations,
Bullshit.
ignoring your problems. Oh my gosh, this is Eugene from Hey Arnold.
That's bullshit.
Oh yeah.
Some of it is, some of it isn't.
Yeah, I know, but
The part that is actually the best analogy I could think about it is if someone was like, "Does this outfit make me look bad?" Will they tell you it or not? Or the Emperor's New Clothes, where the only one who was actually honest was a little kid.
Mm-hmm. And yet that story like remains timeless for a reason because
Yes.
essentially the moral of the story, it's better to be is to be honest yet tactful, to not just one person but to the people around you, and not essentially don't sell them bull crap. Just tell it like it is.
And
Because if
sometimes,
they don't, oh, sorry,
oh,
Humble, go ahead.
that's okay. Sometimes trying to tell it like it is really hard to do because, well, let's just say some subjects can be sensitive to others, but more for legit uh, trauma reasons, kind of like how uh, PTSD, if someone got stunned by a bee, that would be the bee that would be the problem. But if it were complex PTSD and they got stunned by the bee, anything that looked like the bee would be the problem. And I got that from a Pixie Gags YouTube channel. That's where I got that information from.
There is a way, and what I was going to say is sometimes telling them what they need. It just brings up an old saying about who's a true friend. A true friend will tell you what you need to hear. A fake friend will tell
Hmm.
you what you want to hear. So it is better, and it may sting a little because the truth can hurt sometimes. I'll admit to that. It can hurt. But a true friend will tell you what you need, not what you want. Because in the end, maybe what you need is exactly that. It could save you from a lot of heartache. It could save you from a lot of pain. It could save you from making bad investments. It could save you from a relationship that may not be good for you. It could save you from a whole lot of things. So yeah, there is truth to that. But also, but I don't want to get off track because let's go stay into it. There's a way of doing truth, but you have to sprinkle it with the secret sauce called tack.
Hmm.
And a lot of us in these day and times do not have tack. And we need that little magical ingredient. Because when you have tack, you can be right about something. You can absolutely have a substantial reason to be right. But if you don't have that secret pixie dust magic called tack, nothing you say is going to do you any good.
Yeah, especially what's being shown off like in media nowadays. It's
Hmm.
overwrought with toxic positivity, even in real
Hmm.
life.
Yes.
Because you have people out there who essentially don't want to face whatever it is that's negatively affecting them like head on, or even when they're actually having a problem and when their real friends trying to tell them that hey, you gotta stop this, you need help. Instead, like they surround
Mhm.
themselves with people that essentially exacerbating whatever it is that's affecting them.
Oh yeah, yes, we get that a lot. We get it a lot these days, and like you said, even in our media. What's the word? What I'm trying to think of a good example. Um,
Bet.
there's something else I was going to bring up. We get it now in some of our entertainment. Ah, come on. Rings of Power is not that bad. It's pure token. Go ahead and sit through this thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
You'll
speaking
love it.
yeah. I'm
of
sorry, but
denial.
that's
Eh,
denial, but also it's a mixture of denial, projection, and gaslighting. More so of the former two than the latter.
Oh, okay. I thought they.
Yeah, it's denial and gaslighting,
Oh, okay.
peer pressure.
Yep.
and that'll be the third.
And I want to go back. Wolf made a good point about communication between men and women, particularly with intimacy or with couples. And like he said, he's right. If your partner, whoever you are, a certain look, or a certain caress, or a certain stroke is another way of communicating to your partner, whether you're married or you're dating or whatever. But that has been taken away from certain groups that have misunderstood the communication to a point now where some jobs men are in one room locked away and women are in another room locked away because this is true. This is I've heard one
I
women,
believe
like
you.
one woman,
I
she got
believe you.
upset.
Me
She
too.
got upset because a man told her how nice she looked, and she went to
Really?
HR. Yes, and she said, "Well, I am uncomfortable with you saying that about to me. That makes me uncomfortable."
Ah,
So the guy said, "Okay, well, I'll never say you look nice today again." She said, "That makes me uncomfortable. I'm not comfortable with that." And see, I don't know any how to say it. Me Too has been abused. Let's just put it like that. It has been abused so badly that what Wolf is talking
Me Too
oh,
about,
should never have happened.
it
Hmm.
took,
oh, it
Ever.
yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
just abused, it was an outright witch hunt.
Yeah.
yes.
I
Oh,
mean,
you're right.
Liam Easton
Yes.
like even mentioned that in one of an well, not a really old interview, but in one of his previous interviews during the 2010s, where he talked about Me Too being a witch hunt.
And it was. Humble is right. It absolutely was.
You know,
It's
like a
just
lot.
another. It's add to a list of things where opportunists have took have have took a complete advantage of. When it comes to movies like that, you have to really vet whoever's going to jump in and be very vigilant and militant on who you pick your victims and vet your victims at this point. And I'm saying it's a future people who are starting a nonprofit movement of any kind over anything. If you are going at it with the best intentions, and it all some I'm not gonna downplay any sort of movement that tries their best to really help real victims, right?
Right. Right.
Mhm.
Or the inception of said movement, the inception of it. Like I'm not gonna downplay that, but to anybody with future endeavors, and I'm talking about the ones that are legit, that's not out to make steal money or launder money. You're actually out there trying to help people. Period. Right?
Mhm.
Vet your victims, or vet anybody who's willing to jump in and
A volunteer.
volunteer. Basically, yeah. Vet your volunteers, your tirees. Excuse me, because you never know who's gonna be in it, just to be in it to really commit to the message, to the movement, to the principles, or who's there for their own gains, their ill-got gains as well, or there to make just basically there for selfish reasons.
Yeah, and so well, more importantly, like actually learn from like movements of old, on like their rise and how their rise, their fall, and or how they're able to keep themselves so not only accountable but also consistent
but
in
to
whatever the mission statement is.
but to hammer home what really screwed everything up really is believe all women.
Oh
Oh
yeah.
yeah. Oh
That
God. Yes.
like me too was kind of like
Yes.
the progenitor, but believe all women was the catalyst to where we are now.
Even
Not
back.
I'm not saying Me Too is exempt from this, or you know they did very little damage,
Hey,
but I'm talking about when it came down to both movements, believe all women and Me Too. Believe all women was just like the nail in the coffin.
it was
Yes.
kind of it's kind of like when you have the suspicious person say, "Trust me," and all kinds of red flags go off.
Hmm.
Mm,
Like even back then, like people felt that just rubbed them the wrong way, because we've seen it time and again. Either we witnessed it physically, or we observed it or read it through history books. I was like, women, uh, and women are capable of doing a lot of things, even performing on malicious acts, and they hide behind it through a nice smile.
Dude, a lot of
Very true.
in a lot of murder mysteries, many of the murderers are ladies.
We also must not forget female serial killers throughout history.
That is true.
okay, we're getting into a history lesson now.
Yeah, on the nature of communication at hand, one thing I would like to note, has anyone ever seen what an extrovert was like when their battery is low?
I don't
I,
think I
I
have.
know they
Yeah.
they had introverts turning into like these cute little turtles, and extrovert turns into Gollum from The Hobbit. A very 10 cups of espresso, no people contact for a month Gollum from The Hobbit.
No, I believe you. Well, and I'm sure like each of us like may have witnessed it like time and again. Well, you also have the ambiverts, who are essentially the middleman or the middle woman between the extros and the intros.
Hmm,
So like, well, what happens to them like after they had their engagement? It varies.
that's true. And it varies between a lot of them, but you just it's just you don't see it. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's made cutesy to make people feel better, which I can see why that would work sometimes. But when you see it happen in real
Late
time,
for the first time, we have Snarky Darky Dark Stranger.
oh hi.
Hey,
Okay,
Dark.
I better shut my subject off now.
Hey. No. Keep going. Like, we're gonna catch
Well,
him up.
we were just basically talking about the social batteries, and social interaction is a very human need. Even if it was just going to the grocery store, grabbing a Butterfinger and talking to the cashier and going back, it is still a human need.
Right. Like,
Yeah.
even if the person, even if the person, man or woman, boy or girl, like happens to be an introvert, like even they crave for social interaction because like who wants to be alone every day?
I would have to
Most
be
of
a
the
very
ones,
dark and strange person.
Yeah, and not to mention isolation can do a lot to a person, not just physically but mentally as well.
I just
More
want to
more
say it's
so
mostly
so
the people
negatively.
who tries to take pride in wearing loneliness like it's a badge of honor.
You know what's kind of funny though? To fill in that social quota, they have to go out and brag about that badge of honor.
Hmm.
And if you're lonely and truly alone, you end up taking years of therapy for that damage. It was used in most mental asylums and jails. It was called white room torture.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. It also depends on the sort of person too. There are some people who just really thrive better on being alone than in social environments.
That is true. There's that other side of the coin.
That is true.
We cannot deny them that, definitely. But the ones that just think that they're all better than somebody else because they're lonely. That's just that just
Oh,
gets on my
so
nerves.
lonely.
That's
I'm
depressing.
so lonely.
So
I
lonely, so
mean,
lonely. I'm really lonely.
Oh, Akon's Mr. Lonely.
Wrong. Team
No,
America
no, no.
welcome you.
I know, no, but well, hey, I'm just saying, like, whatever you started, it just reminded me of Mr. Lonely from Akon. I
Oh
know
my
it's different for
god,
what
I
it is that
hate
you're
that
humming.
song. Hate that song when it first came out.
I don't blame you,
More so than the Lazy song by what's that fool
Bruno
name?
Mars.
Yeah, Bruno Mars.
Yeah,
Couldn't
I
stand that
remember when
song
it first.
either.
Yeah, when it first came on the radio, like at first I liked it, but then they kept on repeating it, as well as listening to the lyrics. It immediately became my least favorite from Bruno Mars' discography. Like, dude,
I
no.
hated just the sub. I hated for the subject matter.
Well, that too. No, I was getting to that. Like, no, like who wants to be lazy every day? Like, what's so wrong with not being active?
Was it's just my whole thing is what was the point of making that song? That song that was an easy damn song to make. Is what I'm saying. It was far too. It was like I was like the lyrics is just so. It's just somebody that's doing something that most people would do at any given day at any given time. Mostly, it I'm like I'm not trying to belittle anybody for not having for having an unproductive day. If there's a reason behind it, for sure. Like I don't care what your reason is. That's your private life and your private home. You know.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the fact that you have to make a song about that. I'm just like,
It's also not too late to make an unproductive day productive.
Yeah, like hanging out with your friends and all that stuff. But no,
Or your neighbors.
he's a cool cat, but that song is just. What
It
was
was
the?
just a
Yeah,
cash grab.
It
yeah.
definitely was. I mean, he sings real good, but it just you know what really bugged me about that song more so than the subject matter. It sounded like something you would listen to on Nickelodeon or PBS.
The sad thing is, you're not wrong.
That's the problem I had with it. It's like it felt like an overproduced, and I use this phrase a lot, but I'm gonna use it again. Overproduced PBS Nickelodeon song. And Bruno Mars is not of that caliber. It's like I ain't never seen him on anything. Well, I'm pretty sure he did a few performances here and there. Probably did a few music videos for Nickelodeon or Nick Jr. whatever, or maybe in PBS. But I, you know, wherever the case may be, I've always associated with him having these party songs, these really good party songs, mind you.
Mhm.
Wait, Bruno Mars would be on the same TV station as the song that's saying refried beans?
I'm just saying, like I don't know. I don't know. Maybe he did, but like I said, my exposure to him is these nifty party songs that I actually would prefer listening to at a club than whatever the hell Ice Spice and Sexy Red singing.
Maybe he wanted to try and do a Miley Cyrus and get in her pants.
You are funny. Motherfucker came in here late and we being funny.
You're
But
welcome.
thank you, Daddy.
He's going to get a zinger in there at some point.
Mhm.
Comes with the
Hey, he's our
territory.
resident snarker for a reason, and that's why we love him.
But the one thing I will also commend our history for what it's worth, okay? For what it's worth, throughout the tragedies and all the harshness and and blood feuds and what have you, we have done at least a really good, impressive job of trying to master another's language,
Right?
to meet the same wavelength of another's language. We if there was ever, we could have not teach Spanish in class, or French,
Or Japanese.
or Japanese, or Russian, or any other language for that matter. We couldn't, we didn't have to, but we did. Now, whether it's by committee or what was it forced or not, that is not up to us to even find out. I'm just happy that we were able to do so. And with the wave of the internet, we can still do so through other means for free.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
That's what I gotta say. Like, the question we always propose is, well, I propose to anybody else, those who are listening, those who probably come by and listen, and probably not reach this part of the stream. Hope I'm not trying to sound doomerish or anything like that, but let's be realistic, right? Is that did social media either damage our communication or enhance it in such a way, or is it a bit of both?
A bit of both.
It's a double-edged sword, so yeah, it's more option three, both.
Yeah, everybody has a microphone now, and we let the losers hold on to it far too long.
Eh.
Yes. Well, not
They
just the
should never have
losers,
been
but
allowed the
also
mic, ever. I'm sorry. I'm gonna say this right now. The losers should any if there was ever any exclusivity, it's them motherfuckers should have been excluded from the mic.
not just the losers, but also the toxic positivity people.
I'm talking
Hmm.
about the losers. That's basically them. You're basically describing them.
Well,
Mhm.
just to chime in on this, I would say yes, it is a double-edged sword and it goes both ways. But I would also say that it kind of leans more to worse because how often do you go in the day and there are people with this small handheld device that's it's a huge freaking library of information just a
Mm.
button press away, and they're like, so how do you make coffee? And like, what?
Mm. He went there, everybody.
Yes, he
He went
did.
there.
But
Oh my
thing is, he's not wrong.
No, he's not. No,
my
he is not.
yeah, my favorite part about that one is you can also look up the search histories of which was the longest one. Like there was one comic from Litterbox Comics that would talk about how hyenas give birth.
Mhm.
And this is a slice of life comic featuring anthropomorphic animals. So it says, I'm going to Google it. And then right after that comic comes up there's a spike in the internet history of people looking up hyena births.
Mm.
And then
Oh wow.
and then they had a extra panel and the lady's horrified and her friends beside her saying, I was gonna get her a casserole.
But I think it's an interesting thought with social media. I think what happened is maybe perhaps there is some positive to it. Like I always said, it allows me to talk to maybe family members that I cannot travel or I can't reach to anymore, and I can still see how they're doing, and still communicate to them. I find out about certain jobs auditions through social media, but I also understand that people are relying too heavily on it, because if it's at a
Hmm.
point where you can't talk to a normal human being, then you've got a problem. It
And
should not be your only source. You
Hmm.
Hmm.
know, there can be
so
some benefits from it, but it's like you said, it's the toxic positivity that could be a problem, or the toxic people that could be a problem. But
and another thing
yeah.
that also affects it, and in the wise words of a biologist named Lindsay Nicole, who does biology, island evolution, where shit gets weird. Pardon my French. Uh, when because each platform, and I've been on several different social media platforms, guilty as charged, they all have the same pattern but different recognition.
Hmm.
Oh, pattern recognition.
Like, for example, Tumblr is where you got all the gender bin, the headcanon, the shipping,
Ugh.
and then the Tumblr art style. But that's because it was stuck in its own bubble for a while, and then it got stuck onto Twitter, and Twitter has no censorship when it comes to expressing their opinion. It got to the point when they tried to bully Japanese artists off of the website. Someone put up a whole warning list of what these people look like, everything from what they put in their bio, the emojis, the alternate tags, their avatars, and then coincidentally people matching the description of that wanted poster harassed the wanted poster. Luckily the artists that were getting harassed are now back, so I'm like, yay. And the art police have had to jump the boat because reasons, probably mental health, because when they start putting like their pronouns and all of their like personal information in their author bio, then you know you've been on the internet too long. It's the equivalent of like the one thing from the sitcom Big Bang Theory when a guy got his friend addicted to a online RPG, and the only way to get her to stop was the guy came in and Shakespearean was like, "Prithee, do tell, I like to get a drink at the local bar. And she's like, yeah, sure, whatever. And she suddenly takes all the video game stuff off. She's got Cheetos in her hair. She never changed out of her bathrobe. And this is basically the California socialite turned Hikikomori. And she was like, oh, dear God, I've been on the internet too long.
Poor baby.
Oh, you would not believe the number of times that I see people like going out and about, still wearing their sweats or PJs.
Oh yeah, I don't know where
They
that
didn't
habit
even
came
bother
from.
like changing it into their like day clothes.
I'm not one to judge because I wear comfy clothes a lot. I just make sure they're a little stylish, but they're still slouchy wear.
Well, I'm one to judge. If you're gonna
True.
go out there like that, why leave the house in the first place?
Yes.
The only time I would actually be a little bit judgmental is if you were going to a dressier place like a restaurant, because I guarantee you, if you show up in like what I'm wearing right now is a Scooby-Doo onesie with the little hood. If I wore that into Village Inn, you get stared at like all the seagulls seeing a fish up above the water. It's like, boom,
Mine.
they all look. Yeah, well, mine where it's like that. And the most unadulterated version of bad communication happens to be toddlers.
Well, I might say, go on.
Because with a toddler, you're still teaching them how to be nice to each other and basic social skills. That's why one of my favorite parts in Spy Family was the one where Anya punched Damien. Like, she's 4 going on 6 and everyone's 6 and they're trying to bully her like a fellow 6-year-old. She decided to punch the kid that wanted to bully her, and now the kid she punched is in love with her. It's not that deep of love. It's kind of it's literally puppy love, because the kid's like, if she sees Anya cry, he will bend over backwards to do stuff for her. But Anya, the oblivious kid that she is, and this is the one that reads minds, mind you, thinks if
The
I get a
telepath.
dog, the telepath that says, if I get a dog, I will make this guy my new best friend for world peace. Of course, it doesn't go that way. In fact, it ends up being her new classmate has a crush on her dad. She's basically like that one
My
Carl
girl.
from Jimmy Neutron, and the dad that's supposed to be the villain in that series is a piece of work. If you wanted a good example in anime of not communication, don't be this guy's dad. Don't be Damien's dad. This guy is like, he's got bags for days. His hair's parted like someone decided, I'm going to lick my thumb and clean your chin before you leave. And then he's got the most uptight suit ever, and he does not communicate well.
What's this?
No,
What's this?
no, he does
Color
not.
everywhere. What's this? What's this?
I was thinking. I was.
I think
Oh,
some lessons with Julian Treasure would surely fix Damien's dad.
Let's give Dark Stranger his 2 cents before we start heading out.
yes.
Good point. Good point. Yeah.
Well, start me off here.
Let's catch them up real fast, though. Yeah. Well, we started off by listing off what we failed to talk about that much in the stream, which is the forms of communication, I guess. Then we get into a little history and my admiration of Churchill, with his favorite phrase, bet, him and Patton,
Hmm.
two great white dudes that I admire throughout history because, again, against all odds that was stacked against them at the time, all they can say was bet. I even issued that to the Spartans too. Spartans are the living embodiment of bet. Of course, we also talked about a little bit of body language, mother to child, future spouse to speak to future spouse, man and woman.
Mm-hmm.
How we're losing that art these days as well. Of course, Leia went as far as say that how influencers or advice givers are snake oil salesmen at times, or just fake it the funk, or the better phrase, hypocrites.
Mm-hmm.
Humble's humble.
Hi, Humble.
Hi.
Dominic is Dominic.
Hi, Dom.
So,
So we covered a few bases, especially when it came down to technology as well,
Hmm.
and we used a little bit of movies and video games and cartoons for references, points of references. I mean, music is also a communication language too. I mean, remember back in the days, bards were always they sort of pseudo avatar for storytelling or messages delivered to people.
Hmm.
Love
well, they are.
messages.
Well, they were wordsmiths.
Exactly, love messages, proposition messages, political messages, what have you.
Or
And
pay them
there were
20
also there
bucks and they'll make fun of somebody for free.
there
Hmm.
are also good spies as well, or
Oh yeah.
good eavesdroppers. So there's that,
Hmm.
and of course there are also regular spies as well, lending secret information through communication. Of course, messenger birds being one of them as well. Messenger, basically animals that were beasts of burden that carried off messages. Those are forms of communication as well. And we did touch upon letters and well, we didn't really touch that deep into letters and like the postal service, of course. Just the ability to speak across the ocean or across your own land, delivering messages and letters and doing it more efficiently this time around as the
Morse
years
code
progress.
and all that too.
Morse code, yes, yes. Technology,
Oh yeah.
again, ever evolving, or rather, ever progressing. We got the telephone, and before that, we had
The
the Morse
telegraph,
code.
even before the telephones.
Yep, telegraph. Yes, yes, yes. The phonograph as well.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
The
oh
phonograph
yeah.
used to record messages as well back in the days. For those who don't know, that little thing that they always use for fancy classical movies or even movies that deign to have one in there. The one that has the needle that you put on the vinyl cause the vinyl the vinyl
Record.
the vinyl record, and it goes that sound. Those things actually recorded messages too. They were kind of like the basis of voicemail.
Yeah,
They
they
were
No,
the
were.
they
no,
were
that
the
wasn't
proto.
vinyl. That was like a cylinder of, I think it was black wax or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Not, not,
Yes.
not saying
Yeah.
not
Black
to
wax.
not to
Yeah,
confuse
cylinder
vinyl
black wax.
with cylinder black wax, but again, the phonograph was also early voicemail
Hmm.
before
It
we even got.
also it also ended up being one of the first voice automated toys.
Hmm.
you stuck the recording device in this doll, and if the doll was clicked, and if the doll was tipped just right, the thing would break. So the guy decided, you know what, Edison, quit making toys, go back to making your fancy schmancy gadgets.
But yeah, it's crazy how we've come to us to a come to the way we are now these days. We're not consuming the technology responsibly, if you will, or utilizing the technology responsibly these days. And unfortunately, that comes with the territory with new inventions and ever progressing technology.
Mhm.
It's just going to be that way, and we have to navigate through it by doing other means, or try to do things that can balance it out, or eat or level it out. And that's the
Mhm.
thing that we're also missing is the basis of leveling things out when it comes to stuff like that. And most people who are is mostly driven by people who are hesitant towards this technology, that don't really understand it, which is their kids also understand it way better than they do, because they're ingrained into it already through the previous technology. I didn't even have a smartphone until I was like, I don't know, 18, 19. Well, not a smartphone,
Hmm.
but the chirps and basically
Yeah.
the classic phones, the flip phones and stuff like that. I didn't get that until like I was 18, 19 ish. And even
I
then, I didn't really play
Huh?
with it that much. The next phone I got didn't really play with it that much either. And the only time I ever played with it was playing Tetris on it when I'm riding the bus, or sitting around waiting for somebody to show up, whatever.
when I first got into smartphones, I downloaded 10 jillion annoying ringtones
Mhm.
I
and
recorded
played
mine.
them for fun and set them as alarms. And I've had multiple family members threaten to take my phone and chuck it out the nearest window off a bridge
I
because
had
my phone
only
was so annoying. I had like a screech owl for an alarm.
Oh God.
And there is a country band that did an a cappella, pick up your phone, pick up your phone. We're not going to stop till you pick up your phone.
Oh, I
And
remember those.
oh, and my favorite one was Elmo.
Oh God. What
And
did he
he
do?
says, Elmo loves you. Elmo wants to tickle you. And then you stick
Oh.
the phone on vibrate.
Mm-mm.
I was not a nice kid.
Yes, you was.
Well,
You just
yes,
did.
I was, but uh,
You just liked things.
Hmm.
some things. I was not a big
She's
fan.
creepy and she's kooky, mysterious and spooky. She's altogether ooky, the humble Marty.
Man, even
Da-da-da-da.
back then, you were just a little Wednesday, weren't you, Humble?
Eh, I
She's
liked
the
Pink a
nicer
lot more
sister.
than Wednesday.
She's
And
she's
and
actually the rare character that the Adams family liked.
yeah,
That's what
I
she
will
was.
I will admit I liked Pink a lot. I liked Weird Things, but I was also the biggest prude ever, so that was just me.
I'm saying she would have been the one character in the Adams family that they would want to marry into their family.
Hmm.
That would be interesting adventure.
Seriously, there were characters like that in the Adams family. Yes, you had the traditional
Mm-hmm.
ones that they could not wait to get rid of and get away from their house. But then on a few occasions, you get the ones that they genuinely liked, and will want them to be added to their family. As
Mm-hmm.
want them as part of their family. The ones that literally are immune to all the things that will scare other people away, and yet they all dress normal. That's the kicker. That's the kicker. They're the ones that dress normal, and yet they're unbothered by everything the Adams family would throw at them. And it's not really necessarily a test for them per se. It's not really a test that the Adams manner would employ to visitors. If they didn't like you, if they knew what you were about, and they can see you for a mile, see you for what you are a mile away, oh, they'll let you know subtly, mind you, subtly. They'll let you know. And if they do like you, oh, they'll show how much they like you in another subtle way. And that's what they got. That's one thing that's lost in most media that depicts the Allen family in such a way. It's like, I can't, I can't, I just can't.
Subtlety, especially in the body language departments.
Modern media did lose a lot of subtlety.
And that's it's one of the reasons why I don't want to watch the Wednesday Adams show, because they're very selective on who gets to who the Adams family gets to like.
They're
'Cause you got
also They also did the weird choice of having Gomez in jail for some reason.
that's a
Right?
cakewalk for him.
True, but
Then again, yeah, you're right. Gomez.
I
The thing
I
is,
was a 90s kid. I grew
mhm.
up with Gomez just being Gomez. He wasn't really doing anything illegal. The closest you ever got to that was he let his kids use practical effects on stage for blood.
No, the thing is, when it comes to Gomez, one thing people tend to not know because they don't really portray it as much. Gomez, the thing with Gomez's character and throughout the whole series itself, comics included, was the fact that he was always the one. He was a really good lawyer. Let's just go
Mm-hmm.
with that. He was a very good lawyer who knew the system really well. He was also an honest lawyer as well. So when
Mm-hmm.
it came down to people trying to, it was always it was always an uphill battle for everybody to battle him in legalities, and he would always win. There was also times he would swindle the swindlers, trying to either take away the lease to his house, try to evict them and stuff. And it's all in some cases it was always a case of them trying to people trying to evict them. Why? Multitude of reasons, but mainly the reason is because they're weird, and always and too many weird shit happens in their home. So anybody in one iteration, somebody will move next door to them, and they're always on a quest to get rid of them, you know, or at least I think that was Beetlejuice. I don't know. Well, it was either Beetlejuice, the animated series, or Alice Family, the animated series, where somebody will always move in next door to them, and they don't like them because of reasons, and they
Wait,
always find.
wait, are
Mm,
you talking about the Harry Monster or Jacques?
say again.
Wait, which character from Beetlejuice the animated series are you referring to?
No, I'm just saying, like that was always the premise. That was always the go-to story drive for each episode, almost each
I think that
episode.
was the Adams family because Beale just was just a lot of all over the
Trap.
place kind of
Yeah,
things.
yeah,
Beetlejuice
yeah.
was
Yeah,
a
it had to be
summoned
Adam's family.
spirit, and the funny part was the scariest face you could think of was portraying Wendy's dad.
But the thing is that it was always somebody in the cartoon of Alan's family. There's always somebody who moves in next door to them, and then they just decide, let's go fuck with them so they can move out. And what they do is half the time is they will invite people to their house, like a house greeting, right? A neighbor greeting, right?
Yeah.
And it would just show them all kind of crazy shit that would scare the shit out of them so bad that they just immediately pack their things and move and leave and almost leave everything in the house that they moved into. That was always another thing was that they always keep retail fresh every single time. They were good. They were apparently good realtors.
Well, it kept the property pretty affordable.
But that's enough of me reminiscing. Let's hear it from you, Dark. Put your 2 cents in before we start wrapping up.
Mm. Language in all of its forms. It's great. Uh, it's evolved over time.
Hmm.
It's kind of been hitting rough spots lately. Is it an evolution to something newer or just a degeneration to something stupider? Who knows? I'm not really following like the text to speak stuff that people are trying to make a thing. I don't see that being a good language. But we do need to interact. We do need to talk. We need body language, healthy body language, contact too. Like, guys, please stop watching the EFOPs. They're not gonna they're not gonna do it for you.
No,
Hmm.
no, they're not.
Uh, and for God's sake, if you're gonna have kids, please don't give them the tablets and just let that be their way to the world and growing up. Be a fucking parent and raise the damn kid and interact with them. Teach them how to
Correct.
speak.
Thank you.
Very well said. I agree. Or play games with them. Have them put the tablet down one evening and sit down at the table and play games with them. The way, well, I think about when I back yonder in my day when we had lots of board games, electronic games. Interact as a family, like Dark just said. Not only
Hmm.
talk but play. Play. Say, well, we're going to play things together.
Or go
Don't know how to
outside.
do that? Look at family YouTube or
Mm,
people who have YouTube channels that kind of record, you know, family things. Specifically, families who are, dare I say it, conservative. And I'm talking
mm,
about the ones that are actually giving some really good hard lessons, some
Mm-hmm.
really good answers to lessons that a child should learn, like respect and respecting one's peers and respecting one's elders, or listening to both mother and father because both mother and father are as a team. You know, like at the end of the day, no matter what, you're not gonna get your way all the time, and you're not gonna manipulate one over the other to get your way as well. If that mommy and dad is both a team, and if one says no, the other is gonna say no, and that's something you're just gonna have to deal with as you get older. It's just a simple fact of life. Like they are the parents, whatever they say go. Now, granted, if you got some bad parents, that's a whole different situation. That's something we can always talk about at another day. That we're not talking about that. We're talking about good parents, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Talking about good parents that know what they're doing. You go seek them out and whatever they have to say resonates with you, resonates with your values, whatever values that you have. You know, if you want to follow them, go ahead and follow them. If you want, if you want to, if you want to just be vicarious, I wouldn't recommend it. But if you want to go vicarious with them, you know, that's on you if you want to do that. I'm not saying you should, and I highly recommend you don't do that. You know, vicariousness leads to enviousness, anyways. You know,
Mm-hmm.
but like I said, absorb their knowledge, take it in, and do it your own way, or put your own spin to it. Because most of the times, Majority of the things that we learn has been learned from somewhere else, has been learned by watching something else. It's like martial arts. Most of martial arts are formed due to watching your opponent and what they did.
Mm-hmm.
You know, um, language even came from that. Watching the way how your other learn how to talk. It's the reason why most people from either Jamaica or Africa speak with a French accent. They learn from their others. You know, Same thing with the Spanish. Where do you think that come from? Through a lot of observation and communication, or listening to the communication as well.
Are you sure? I thought that was all Antonio Banderas.
Mhm.
Hmm.
But y'all get my meaning, right?
Mm,
Anyways, nothing else to say, guys.
yeah.
um, I think you pretty much covered it up. It's up to Dom if we have to do a part two. But the only thing I will basically say is we need to use more of that little magic pixie dust called tact and tactfulness when we communicate. We do. It's too much yelling at each other. It's too much. Even if you have a point, and you could be right. Again, it could be a very valid point, but tact is is the sweet sauce that makes it go over either. It's an old saying. My grandmother used to say it, but a lot of people say it. It's like you catch more flies with honey. So
Hmm.
if you sweeten it, whatever point you're trying to make will come across. I think today with this group, I've always said to myself that as I've gotten older, I guess I'm getting nostalgic. I've got a birthday in another week, but when I look back on everything, we are too verbally abusive as a society. We've got to stop. There's nothing weak with being a little tactful when we want to communicate a point. Your
Need some
point can be
moxie.
made. Yeah,
Hmm.
when we point. So in our communication, tactfulness is not a weakness. That's not a weakness. That's a strength. And you'd be surprised how that secret sauce can work magic in your communication.
We're either too abusive or just too much defeatist. I mean, yeah, you got people screaming at each other, not wanting to talk because they don't agree or share your opinions, blah blah
Mhm.
blah, or they're just defeatist. They just mumble and like, I don't know, like, and they're not really doing anything. They're just mumbling about and like, shrugging, like, I don't know.
Hmm.
Oh, so like modern hip hop,
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's why I posted I posted a video in MeWe where, and I posted it because it's so true and it shows the different communication styles in hip hop, and mumbling is part of it. It's all of a
Hmm.
mumble now, so I
I'm
can't even
so sick and
understand.
tired of the moon right. Give me something interesting.
But yeah, we do need to communicate better. And if you're not learning from, good sources at home, watch some good classic stuff and even read some good classic stuff. Not super old Victorian stuff, like good stories there, but like some good
read,
pulps or like,
right? Read the polls.
classic Hollywood
read some
movies.
Shakespeare,
Yeah,
classic Hollywood,
Mhm.
and Hemingway.
watch some old westerns or some good old Errol Flynn and stuff. How they spoke, charismatic and masculine and all that with
Oh
heart and
yes.
feel.
And if you want to write dialogue the right way, same rule applies.
And
And
if you're
actually
some
take
dumbass
notes.
who wants to get a girl but is too like, get your head out of your ass and just talk. That's the best you can do. Just talk. Learn. You talk through people. You absorb what you fail and succeed at, and evolve, and you get better at it. You're not going to get the girl or everything just like that. I mean, if you do, congratulations. You don't have anything to complain about. And if you are, what the fuck is wrong with you? It's trial and error. That's life. But you got to talk. You got to communicate. You got to interact.
Right. And like you
Well,
said, if you don't know, learn. Don't be afraid to grow and better yourself. There's
Exactly.
some people of this generation, not all, but there's some people who seem too satisfied being in their shell. You want to improve yourself each
Yeah.
year. Yeah.
And don't run away to games or MOBAs or whatever. Just get out there. Interact. Meet
there's no
people.
shame in asking for help or interacting with someone you don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
You don't better yourself or the world by doing nothing. You have to do it yourself.
Right. And
And
if you do talk to
actually
the
be
girl and
active instead of just instead of just walk. Actually live instead of just
Basically, what we were saying all
robotically.
at the tail end of last year. Basically, that's basically what we trying to convey to anyone who's listening. That is, anyone who's listening, we is what we trying to convey. It's not saying let everything be all sunshine and rainbows, but at the same time, you gotta confront your problems.
Mm-hmm. The world
I'm
is
not
the world
suggesting
is
take
gonna
a
accept
bullet
you.
to
Okay.
it. What I'm saying is you still need to confront whatever issue you have, or you get yourself out of certain situations that some things are just a choice at this point. Sometimes you choose to stay in a toxic relationship for whatever reason. You choose to stay at a dead end job that's hurting your body. You choose to stay within the friend circle that's actually leading you in a bad direction. At this point, you gotta also take responsibility for yourself in that front that you chose. Sometimes it's like, yeah, some you could say people coerced you into it. Some people, you could say people manipulated you into it, and nobody is going to fault you for being manipulated. I'm not going to sit here and tell you, well, you should have known better, right? I'm not going to say that. But at the
right.
same time, if you continue to stick around and you keep coming back to me or any of us or anybody, any of your friends group for that matter, for example, if you continue to do that, then at this point it's a choice now. You're choosing to stay with the bad because you gotten so used to it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So you gotta ask yourself this: how long do you plan to stay on it? And really now, what you really should be also looking towards as well is things like this. The only reason why some of these people are keeping you around because they need you more than you need them, in a way.
Yeah.
And
They're
once
feeding
again,
off of you. The
Yeah.
leeches, the
yeah,
parasites, they're feeding off of you.
yeah, very parasitic. And again, are you actually gonna live, or you're just gonna go through the motions?
You either live life or you just exist in a world where
And while
people
we're
live.
still on the subject, sorry, Dart. While
Go
we're
on.
on the subject of communication, who are you communicating to that's gonna at at best rescue you? Excuse me, rescue you, or at least get you out of terrible situation, or have your back should you get out of there, but you have no place to go or no direction to move in. Better figure that out. Who's actually been having your back and who's been supporting you? Better figure that out.
Yeah,
Just
and
saying.
if you're the type who like to complain, whine, and say, I really just need to get out. I need to move to another state, all that stuff, and you don't do it, but you just keep on whining and complaining, and then reaching out to people for advice, and they again and again and again. At some point, you just gotta realize you're not improving anything. You're
You're
not doing
stagnating.
anything.
Mhm.
Yeah, you're stagnant. You're literally just choosing to be there, whether you're admitting it or not, and you just need to stop. I mean, it's great if you just actually do it, but if you're just gonna sit there and whine, complain nonstop, and always ask for help and blah blah blah, like, nope, everybody's just gonna get tired of your shit eventually. You either put up and do it, or you don't.
And my new rule going forward into this year: earn your right to complain.
Hmm.
And what I mean by that is this: if you've been working on it, and life has been throwing you a lot of curveballs or speed bumps, it's been frustrating to navigate through those curveballs and those speed bumps. Then complain to me about it. Give me details on how you have been confronting the situation and how it continues to keep beating you down. Because I'd rather hear somebody actually doing their damnness to get through the obstacle, but the obstacle is continuously hammering them down, and yet they're still standing firm. At least at the end of that conversation, you're still standing firm and still ready to tackle, because you only came to vent to me the progress,
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
process. You're That's the only time I'll ever listen to somebody at this point. Like, if you vent to me the first time and you haven't done anything yet, but the next time you came in and you vent to me and you have done some things about it, you have made waves. Oh, 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 I'm happy. I'm happy for you. I'm happy for you at this point. It's like, well, shit, that's inspirational. You guys see, that's one thing I want to see from people from now on. At this point, it's like, no matter what you're doing or what you're going through, you're still standing up and standing firm and continue to push forward. Period.
Hmm.
Throughout the roughness, the toughness, especially this year going forward.
Like even though in this new year, we are witnessing seeing things like going back to a return to form. It may not be exact. They turn out may not return exactly to how it was like back in the 90s or even the early 2000s. We still got to keep our heads up, which includes actually communicating with each other again by actively listening to one another instead of reductively listening. Actually hear and listen to what the person is saying, regardless of whether or not you agree with them on anything.
And here's one more thing I will add as well: to all those losers who revel in the negativity, who thrive on telling people what can't be done, while you sitting in behind your keyboard not doing a damn thing, or you asking people what other people are doing. Don't do not nothing. You have nothing to offer to the world, much less anybody else. Nothing. You give nothing. You contribute nothing. And unfortunately for you, you're not entitled to anything. You're not even in fact, you're not even entitled to the microphone that metaphorical microphone that you've attained now that you have now that you have social media all over the place. You know,
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Them keyboard warriors?
as anybody who's sowing in doubts and demotivational messages, especially in YouTube.
Black
Jesus
pilling.
Christ. Yeah, I seen so many of those in many YouTube comments on any other videos, and I'm just like, who are you?
That is anhedonia in
You know, if you you
text form,
know
yes.
you know, I'm sorry, but if you want everybody to be just as miserable as you are and lonely as you are, I'm sorry, stop, go sit down. Nobody, nobody at this point wants to be there. Even those that have lost their way don't want to be there. So don't. With that being said, I'd like to thank everybody for being here. Those four of you, strange enough, that's a good turnout so far in our return. And also those nonsense motherfuckers that keep popping in and out. Thank you again for everybody. Even though I do kind of feel like we kind of fumbled this subject a bit, like we usually do, but we have fun doing it. But thank you for enjoying us as being background noise or just people that you agree with, you know, or we saying the things that probably resonate with you. If we are saying anything that resonates with any of you guys who are listening, those future ones that will listen. William, let's start with the late tardy one, the snarky darky, dark stranger.
Hey, it's East Coast. It's after 2 in the morning. You caught me when I was about to go to sleep. So,
Fuck daylight savings.
well, thank you for having me. I'm sorry I was a little late. Interesting conversation. I'm sorry I missed a good chunk of it. And yeah, everybody communicate. Get out there. Get laid. Enjoy
Oh my
life.
God.
Hey now, you're a rock star. Get the show on. Get laid. All that glitters is gold. Oh, rest in peace, lead singer to Smash Mouth.
Hmm.
We lost a good man, a
Mm-hmm.
great man.
May he rest in peace.
The Hound of the South, Donic Powell.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us on the season 3 premiere of The Real Millennials. To answer your question, Leah, yes, there will be a part 2 of communications later on this year. But for next week's episode of The Real Millennials, we are going to be talking about art. Where essentially how we got here when it comes to art, visual, performance, and everything else in between. So until then, this is the Hound of the South, Donic Powell, signing off. And remember, cynicism and nihilism are for losers. You got to keep your head up.
I wanna be down. Anyways, the lovely Leia Valley plus size.
All right. Good evening, everyone. This is Leah Plus Size, your lovely lady of valor. And thank you for joining in our conversation on communication. And I really hope we left you with something, whether it's a phrase or one word, or we sparked your interest. We hope you take away some of our points about how to communicate if you are having struggles with it, how you can improve so it's not a lost cause. And when you do communicate, how we want to be tactful with our words and who we speak to. Because the main thing is we don't want to turn people away or lose them. Tact is not a weakness. So let's try to have that in conversations, even if we are disagreeing with someone. We still want to respect and still use it. Until then, I thank you all for showing, and everybody have a good weekend, and hope to see you next week.
And do some vocal exercises as well, because it's not limited to just singing. It's for speaking as well.
Oh, yes.
The humblest of writers, Humble Marty.
Hello, this is Humble Marty here, humbling my way to you to say hello and thank you and good day and all that stuff. And yes, communication can be hard, but it's vital when you need it. So have a nice day.
So, Commander Wolf to remind you guys once again that you are the UN Space Sea. Welcome to the Wolf Fleet.
Me and my friends get no respect.